Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are continuing on with TryHackMe. This is the Cybersecurity 101 learning path. This is the cryptography module. This is the hashing basics room. Learn about hashing functions and their uses in password verification and file integrity checking. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Hopefully you're all here and ready to learn something today. Task 1, Introduction. Consider the scenario where you just downloaded a 6 GB file and want to know whether the copy you downloaded is identical to the original file, bit for bit. How would you do that? Or if a good Samaritan handed you this 6 GB file on a USB memory drive, how can you be sure it is identical to the file you want to download? The answer to both of the above questions lies in comparing the hash values of these two files. If two hash values are equal, you can say with very high certainty that the two files are identical. But what is a hash value? A hash value is a fixed size string or characters that is computed by a hash function. A hash function takes an input of an arbitrary size and returns an output of fixed length, i.e. a hash value. We will cover various exciting and clever uses of hash functions and values in this room. Note about terminology, we favor the terms hash function and hash value. However, we occasionally use the word hash as a verb to mean calculate the hash value. Moreover, we occasionally use the word hash by itself as a noun to refer to the hash value. Room prerequisites, basically go ahead and complete these rooms before you get to this room, all right? Or you can check out my videos. Learning objectives, upon completion of this room, you'll learn about hash functions and collisions, the role of hashing in authentication systems, recognizing stored hash values, cracking hash values, the use of hashing for integrity protection. All right, so start the virtual machine, which is already done. So we're done with this section here. Task number 2, hash functions, and let's see what they're talking about here. What is a hash function? Hash functions are different from encryption. There is no key, and it's meant to be impossible or computationally impractical to go from the output back to the input, right? So the way my professor in college put it, think of a hash as hamburger meat, okay? You can't reverse hamburger meat back into a cow, right? So there you go. A hash function takes some input data of any size and creates a summary or digest of that data. The output has a fixed size. It's hard to predict the output for any input and vice versa. Good hashing algorithms will be relatively fast to compute and prohibitively slow to reverse as you go from the output and determine the input. Any slight change in the input data, even a single bit, should cause a significant change in the output. Let's check an example. In the terminal below, we can see two files. The first contains the letter T, while the second contains the letter U. If you check T and U in an ASCII table or using hexadecimal, you will notice that the two letters differ by a single bit. The letter T is 54 in hexadecimal, i.e. 01010100 in binary. The letter U is 55 in hexadecimal, i.e. 01010101 in binary. Consequently, the following two files differ by a single bit. However, if we compare their MD5, which is message digest algorithm 5, hashes, their SHA-1, which is secure hash algorithm 1, hashes, and their SHA-256, secure hash algorithm 256 hashes, we will notice that they are entirely different. We recommend that you try the commands below yourself. The files are located in this directory here, so let's go ahead and I guess take a look here and see what's going on. So this is what they're talking about here. Let's go ahead and clear all this out and let's see where we are. All right, cool. So we can let's just do an ls on it. See what's in there. There we go. File 1, file 2. Okay, sweet. So let's go ahead and do cat and then file 1.txt. And you can see that there it says T. It's kind of hard to see on the screen here, but there's T. Then you do the same for the other one, right? So we're just following along here. File 2. Okay, there's U right there. And they did hex dump on it. So let's do the same thing here. All right, so instead of using cat, we're going to replace that with hex dump dash capital C. And what happened here? Okay, I forgot to do a space in there. That's why. So let's just do file. Okay, so that's file 2, and then we're going to do the same thing for file 1. Okay, there we go. And they want us to do the MD5 sum of those files as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we can just replace this with a star, and then we're going to replace hex dump with MD5 like they have on the screenshot there. So MD5 sum, there we go. And then they want us to do the same thing with the SHA-1 and the SHA-2. So we're going to place this information here. Okay. And then we got to do the SHA-256. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, 256. There we go. All right, now we have similar results as they have in that screenshot here. The output of a hash function is typically raw bytes, which are then encoded. Common encodings are base64 hexadecimal, MD5 sum, SHA-1 sum, SHA-256 sum, and SHA-512 sum. Produce the outputs in hexadecimal format. Remember that hexadecimal format prints each raw byte as 2 hexadecimal digits. Why is hashing important? Hashing plays a vital role in our daily use of the internet. Like other cryptographic functions, hashing remains hidden from the user. Hashing helps protect data's integrity and ensure password confidentiality. Consider the following of hashing being used to protect your cybersecurity. When you log into TryHackMe, the server uses hashing to verify your password. In fact, as per good security practices, a server does not record your password. It records the hash value of your password. Whenever you want to log in, it will calculate the hash value of the password you submitted with the recorded hash value. Similarly, when you log into your computer, hashing plays a role in verifying your password. You interact more indirectly with hashing than you would think, and almost daily in the context of passwords. What's a hash collision? A hash collision is when two different inputs give the same output. Hash functions are designed to avoid collisions as best as possible. Furthermore, hash functions are designed to prevent an attacker from being able to create, i.e., engineer a collision intentionally. However, because the number of inputs is practically unlimited and the number of possible outputs is limited, this leads to a pigeonhole effect. As a numeric example, if a hash function produces a 4-bit hash value, we only have 16 different hash values. The total number of possible hash values is 2. The number of bits equals 2 to the power of 4, right, because we're using 4 bits, equals 16. The probability of a collision is relatively very high. The pigeonhole effect states that the number of items, pigeons, is more than the number of containers, pigeonholes. Some containers must hold more than one item. In other words, in this context, there are a fixed number of different output values for the hash function, but you can give it any size input. As there are more inputs than outputs, some inputs must inevitably give the same output. If you have 21 pigeons and 16 pigeonholes, some of the pigeons are going to share the pigeonholes. Consequently, collisions are unavoidable. However, a good hash function ensures that the probability of a collision is negligible. MD5 and SHA-1 have been attacked and are now considered insecure due to the ability to engineer hash collisions. However, no attack has yet given a collision in both algorithms simultaneously. So if you compare the MD5 and SHA-1 hash, you will see that they're different. You can view the MD5 collision example on the MD5 collision demo page, so check that out if you're interested. Furthermore, you can read the details of the SHA-1 collision attack at Shattered, so check that out if you're interested. Due to these, you shouldn't trust either algorithm for hashing passwords or data. All right, so question time. It says, what is the SHA-256 hash of the password.jpg file in this location here? All right, so they want us to get the SHA-256. So we just do, we had up here was the SHA-256 sum of this location, right? So let's go ahead and get this ready to go. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to clear this out. Okay. All right, so that file should be in there, but you can always check by using ls. All right, so there it is, and let's get the SHA-256 sum, and we're going to paste this in there, and then we're going to put the name of the file we want to get. There we go, and that should be our answer right here. All right, and next question says, what is the output size in bytes of the MD5 hash function? And that's going to be 16, right? Also, if you get stuck in this part, you can just hit this hint here, and I'll tell you, I'll give you a point of where to check, right? So count the number of hexadecimal digits and divide it by 2. If you have an 8-bit hash output, how many possible hash values are there, right? So if you go back to that formula up here, so we got 8 bits, right? So 2 to the power of 8 is going to give you 256, right? And if you want to see that, you can just pull up a calculator. All right, so 2 to the power of. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. And there we go. 2 to the power of 8 is going to give us 256. Task number 3, insecure password storage for authentication. And let's see here. Hashing has many uses in cybersecurity. In this room, we will focus on 2 uses, password storage and data integrity. We refer to password storage when used for authentication. It is important to note that this does not apply to password managers where you must retrieve your password in clear text. On the other hand, authentication mechanisms only need to confirm that the user knows the password so they can be granted access to the resource. Therefore, this problem differs from password managers. Stories of insecure password storage for authentication. Most web applications need to verify a user's password at some point. Storing these passwords in plain text is a very insecure security practice. You've probably seen news stories about companies that have had their database leaked, knowing that many people use the same password on their various accounts, including their online banking. Leaking the password from one account jeopardizes the security of all other accounts. We will visit 3 insecure practices when it comes to passwords. Storing passwords in plain text, storing passwords using a deprecated encryption, storing passwords using an insecure hashing algorithm, storing passwords in plain text. Quite a few data breaches have leaked plain text passwords. You're probably familiar with the rocku.txt password list on Kali Linux, among many other offensive security distributions. This password list came from RockU, a company that developed social media applications and widgets. They stored their passwords in plain text, and the company had a data breach. The text file contains over 14 million passwords. You can find rocku.txt and the user shared wordless directory. I believe there's another one too. I think there's an updated version like rocku 2024 .txt or something like that. But anyway, and you can just follow along here. We can do this word count like this. So we're going to type in, let's go ahead and clear all this stuff out. And we can do WC word count, then dash L, I believe is count the lines. So we're going to look for this file here, the rocky.txt in this location here, I should say. And there we go. So there's our results there. And if we want to see the first few items, we can use head on it. All right, so we're just going to replace the word count with head. There we go. You can do the same thing if you want to see the bottom as well. So you can use like tail. All right, so I'm just showing you an example. All right, so there you go. Let's go ahead and clear this out. Get ready for the next step. Using an insecure encryption algorithm, Adobe's notable data breach was slightly different. Instead of using secure hashing function to store the hash values of the passwords, the company used a deprecated encryption format. Furthermore, the password hints were stored in plain text, sometimes containing the password itself. Consequently, the plain text password could be retrieved relatively quickly. Using an insecure hash function, LinkedIn also suffered a data breach in 2012. LinkedIn used a insecure hashing algorithm, the SHA-1, to store user passwords. Furthermore, no password salting was used. Password salting refers to adding a salt, i.e. a random value, to the password before it is hashed, right? It makes it harder to retrieve that password. Question time. What is the 20th password in Rocky.tech? So go ahead and try to figure this out and then come back to the video and we will continue on here. Okay, as usual, you can click the hint if you get stuck. All right, so you can use, like I said, you can use head and then dash n, specify the top 20 you want to see. All right, so if we go back to head and we can use dash n and then 20. So there you go, and the 20th one is going to be QWERTY down there. All right, so you can, like, if you want to see like the top, the 50th one or whatever, all right, just replace that 20 with 50. All right, I think you guys get the gist of it. So there you go. And also take note of these data breaches so that you can be aware of what's going on out there and not repeat the mistakes of others. So I recommend looking into these data breaches and just to look at what actually happened. All right, but we're going to continue on. Task number 4, using hashing for secure password storage. And it says using hashing to store passwords. This is where hashing comes in. What if instead of storing the password, you just stored its hash value using a secure hashing function? This process means you never have to store the user's password. And if your database is leaked, an attacker will have to crack each password to find out what the password was. There's just one problem with this. What if two users have the same password? As a hash function will always turn the same input into the same output. You will store the same password hash for each user. This means if someone cracks that hash, they gain access to more than one account. It also means someone can create a rainbow table to break the hash to break the hashes. A rainbow table is a lookup table of hashes to plain text, so you can quickly find out what password a user had just from the hash. A rainbow table trades the time to crack a hash for hard disk space, but it takes time to create. Here's a quick example to get an idea of what a rainbow table looks like. All right, so you got the hashes on one side and the password on another. All right, so the hash of this password, hash of this password, etc., etc. Websites like CrackStation and Hashes.com internally use massive rainbow tables to provide fast password hashes or password cracking for hashes without salts. Doing a lookup in a sorted list of hashes is quicker than trying to crack the hash. Absolutely true. This example of Crack Station, I use both of them. You'll probably come across these as well when you do CTFs or what have you. Protecting against rainbow tables. To protect against rainbow tables, we add a salt to the passwords. The salt is a randomly generated value stored in the database and should be unique to each user. In theory, you could use the same salt for all users, but duplicate passwords would still have the same hash, and a rainbow table could still be created for passwords with that salt. The salt is added to either the start or the end of the password before it's hashed, and this means that every user will have a different password password hash even if they have the same password. Hash functions like bcrypt and scrypt handle this automatically. Salts don't need to be kept private. Example of securely storing passwords. You can find many good guides online that promote best practices when storing passwords. Please check if there are any standards you need to follow when storing passwords before adopting one. Consider the following Consider this example following good security practices when storing user passwords. 1. We select a secure hashing function such as Argon2, scrypt, and you can see the rest there. We add a unique salt to the password such as the following here. Concatenate the password with the unique salt. For example, if the password is this, the result would be this here. So it's the password in the hash. Number 4, calculate the hash value of the combined password and salt. In this example, using the chosen algorithm, you need to calculate the hash value of this here. 5, store the hash value in the unique salt used, which is this here. Using encryption to store passwords. Considering the problem of saving passwords for authentication, why don't we encrypt passwords instead of all these cumbersome steps? The reason is that even if we select a secure hashing algorithm to encrypt the passwords before storing them, we still need to store the used key. Consequently, if someone gets the key, they can easily decrypt all the passwords. All right, question time. Manually check the hash of this using the rainbow table above. All right, so if you go and try to check this here, it says using the rainbow table above. So if we go back and check that, you can see that it's going to be this one. All right, crack the hash using an online tool. All right, and you should get TryHackMe as the answer, but they want us to use an online tool. So if we go back up here, we can use something like hashes or crack station. So let's go ahead and check hashes and plug this in here. All right, so we got to do that, fill out this captcha here real quick. Okay, there we go. TryHackMe. Flip back over here. And should you encrypt passwords in password verification systems? Well, no, as we just read above from the information, okay? That they could just, if they get that key, they can just look at all the passwords or decrypt all the passwords, all right? And task number 5, recognizing password hashes. And let's see what they're talking about here. From the cyber defense security perspective, we covered how to store passwords securely for authentication systems. Let's tackle this from the offensive security perspective. If we start with a hash, how can we recognize its type, eventually crack it, and recover the original password? Automated hash recognition tools such as Hash ID exist but are unreliable for many formats. That is true. You'll probably come across this in like CTFs and such. For hashes that have a prefix, the tools are reliable. Use a healthy combination of context and tools. If you find the hash in a web application database, it's more likely to be MD5 more than NTLM, which is NT-LAN manager. Automated hash recognition tools often get these hash types mixed up, highlighting the importance of learning yourself. Linux passwords. On Linux, passwords hashes are stored in etc shadow, which is normally only readable by root. They used to be stored in etc passwd, which was readable by everyone. The shadow file contains the password information. Each line contains 9 fields separated by colons. The first 2 fields are the login name and the encrypted password. More information about the other fields can be found by executing man5 shadow on a Linux system. The encrypted password field contains the hashed password with 4 components: prefix, algorithm ID, options, parameters, salt, and hash. It is saved in the format like this: prefix, option, salt, hash. The prefix makes it easy to recognize Unix and Linux style passwords. It specifies the hashing algorithm used to generate the hash. Here's a quick table of some of the most common Unix-like password prefixes you might encounter. They are listed in the order of decreasing strength. You can read more about them by checking the man page with man5 crypt. So there's the table here. You got this $Y $. Yes, crypt is a scalable hashing scheme and is the default and recommended choice in new systems. You got $GY which is Ghost. Yes, crypt uses the Ghost R34 dot yada 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 hash function and the yes crypt hashing method. And you can see the rest here in this chart. So take a look at this chart here or this table here and get familiar with these prefixes and algorithms here. Modern Linux example, consider the following line from a modern Linux system's shadow file. All right, so they did sudo cat xe shadow, and then they piped it into grep as strategos, and this is the information they got back here. The fields are separated by colons. The important ones are the username and the hash algorithm, salt, and hash value. The second field uses the hash format of this here. In the example above, we have 4 parts separated by a $. Y indicates the hash algorithm used, which is yes crypt. You can see that here. J9T is a parameter passed to the algorithm. And then this here is the salt used. So right after that, it's going to be this long thing here. And then after that, it's going to be It says the hash value. So there you go, right here. MS Windows passwords. Microsoft Windows passwords are hashed using NTLM, a variant of MD4. They're visually identical to MD4 and MD5 hashes, so it's very important to use context to determine the hash type. On Microsoft Windows, password hashes are stored in the SAM, which is Security Accounts Manager. Microsoft Windows tries to prevent normal users from dumping them, but tools like Mimikatz exist to circumvent Microsoft Windows security. Notably, the hashes found there are split into NT hashes and LM hashes. A great place to find more hash formats and password prefixes is the Hashcat example hashes page. For other hash types, you'll typically need to check the length or encoding, or even conduct some research into the application that generated them. Never underestimate the power of research. Exactly. Like I said before, your best tool is going to be your brain, okay? So you're going to use your brain and try to figure out what these hashes are, and then try to crack them. If you're going to look at it from an attacker's perspective and an offensive security perspective, and this hashcat page has examples of tons of different hashes. All right, now let's continue on. Question time. What is the hash size in Yes Crypt? What is the hash mode listed for Cisco ASA.NV5? What hashing algorithm is used in Cisco iOS if it starts with a $9 $? So go ahead and try to figure these out, and then come back to the video, and we will continue on. All right, now to find this first one, remember you can take a look at the man page and scroll down to Yes Crypt here, and you can see the hash size is going to be 256 bits. So that's going to be your answer, 256. The next one, you have to take a look at the hashcat examples hashes page. All right, so to get both of these, all right. So basically, go over to that website and went in, did a Control F, found the first one here, which is going to be 2410 for the Cisco ASA MD5, and the second one, same thing here, $9 $. All right, so Control F, then $9 like that, and you can see scrypt. So there goes those, and we're going to continue on to task number 6. We're going to talk about password cracking. We've already mentioned rainbow tables as a method to crack hashes that don't use a salt, but what if there's a salt involved? You can't decrypt password hashes, they're not encrypted. You have to crack the hashes by hashing many different inputs, such as rocky.txt, as it covers many possible passwords, potentially adding the salt if there is one, and comparing it to the target hash. Once it matches, um, you know what the password was. Tools like Hashcat and John the Ripper are commonly used for these purposes. Cracking passwords with GPUs. Modern GPUs, which is graphical processing units, have thousands of cores. They are specialized in digital image processing and in accelerating computer graphics. Although they can't do the same sort of work that a CPU can, they are very good at some mathematical calculations involved in hash functions. You can use a graphics card to crack many hashes or many hash types quickly. Some hashing algorithms, such as bcrypt, are designed so that hashing on a GPU does not provide any speed improvement over using a CPU. This helps them resist cracking. Cracking on VMs. It's worth mentioning that VMs, which is virtual machines, normally don't have access to the host's graphics cards. Depending on the virtualization software you're using, you can set this up, but it is cumbersome. Furthermore, performance degrading or degradation occurs as you use the CPU from a virtualized OS, and when your purpose is to crack a hash, you need a every extra CPU cycle. If you want to run Hashcat, it's best to run it on your host to make the most of your GPU if available. If you prefer Microsoft Windows, you are in luck. Microsoft Windows builds are available on the website, and you can run it from PowerShell. You can get Hashcat working with OpenCL in a VM, but the speeds will likely be worse than cracking on your host. John the Ripper uses CPU by default and works in a VM out of the box, although you may get better speeds running it on the host OS to avoid any virtualization overhead and make the most of your CPU cores and threads. Time to crack some hashes. I'll provide the hashes, crack them, you can choose how. You'll need to use online tools, Hashcat or John the Ripper, although you can use online rainbow tables to solve the following. We strongly advise against doing so, against doing that, as this will restrict your learning experience. As for the first three questions, using Hashcat along with Rocky.txt is enough to find the answers. Hashcat uses the following syntax: hashtag dash m, which is, I think, stands for mode, hash type, dash a, attack mode, and then you got the hash file word list, where dash m hash type specifies the hash type in numeric format. For example, dash m 1000 is for NTLM. Check the official documentation, man hash cat, or you can just take a look at the website and example page to find the hash type. Code to use, dash A, attack mode, specifies the attack mode. For example, dash A 0 is for straight, i.e. trying one password from the word list after the other. Hash file is the file containing the hash you want to crack. Word list is the security word list you want to use in your attack. For example, hash cat dash m 3200 dash a 0 hash dot text, and then they're using the rocku.txt. We'll treat the hash as bcrypt and try the passwords in rocku.txt file. All right, so basically, you can use that information to try to and crack these passwords here. Use hashcat to crack the hash here, saved in this location. Hashcat crack this SHA-256 and crack this hash here, etc., etc. So go ahead and try to do this yourself, then come back to the video and we will continue on. Now let's go and take a look here at this first one, which is going to be a bcrypt hash, and you can see I did that with hashcat. All right, so hashcat dash m 3200 dash a 0, etc., etc. Scroll down here, and it says it cracked for status, and then here's the password here. All right, so basically you're going to use hashcat or maybe even John to try to crack these here. The last one here, you got to use something like crackstation or hashes. All right, just plug that hash into that online cracker tool, which we saw earlier, and then it should be able to give you that answer. But you guys get the gist of it. It could take some time going through all of these here, but you get the gist of how this process works. So we're going to continue on to task number 7, hashing for integrity checking. And let's see what they're talking about here. And it says in task 3, we mentioned that we would focus on 2 uses of hashing: password storage and data integrity. We have extensively discussed how hashing secures passwords in authentication systems. In this task, we will discuss how we can use hash functions to check the integrity of files. Integrity checking. Hashing can be used to check that files have not been changed. If you put the same data in, you should always get the same data out. Even if a single bit changes, the hash will change significantly, as demonstrated in task 2. This means you can use it to check that files haven't been modified, or to ensure that the file you download is identical to the file on the web server. The text file listed below shows the SHA-256 hash of 2 Fedora Workstation ISO files. If running SHA-256 sum on the file you download return the same hash listed in this signed file, you can be confident that your file is identical to the official one. And this is an example of what they're talking about here. They did head on that checksum file here, and you can see the bytes are the same, or different here, sorry. Um, Right. So you can also use hashing to find duplicate files. If 2 documents have the same hash, they are the same document. This is very convenient for finding and deleting duplicate files. HMACs. HMAC, key hash message authentication code, is a type of message authentication code, MAC, that uses a cryptographic hash function in combination with a secret key to verify the authenticity and integrity of data. And HMAC can be used to ensure that the person who created the HMAC is who they say they are, i.e., authenticity is confirmed. Moreover, it proves that the message hasn't been modified or corrupted, i.e., integrity is maintained. This is achieved through the use of a secret key to prove authenticity and a hashing algorithm to produce a hash and prove integrity. The following steps give you a fair idea of how HMAC works. Number 1, the secret key is padded to the block size of the hash function. 2, the padded key is XORed with a constant, usually a block of zeros or ones, 3. The message is hashed using the hash function with the XORed key. 4. The result of step 3 is then hashed again with the same hash function, but using the padded key XORed and another constant 5. The final output is the HMAC value, typically a fixed size string. The illustration below should clarify the above steps. So if you want to take a look at it, looks like this, something like this. And typically speaking, the HMAC function is calculated using the following expression, which is this here. Note that M and K represent the message key, message and the key respectively. All right, so question time. Go ahead and try to figure these out, then come back to the video. This is what is the SHA-256 hash of this here lib gcrypt dash etc found in hashing basics task 7. Next one says what's the hashcat mode for HMAC SHA-512 key equals $pass. So try to figure these out and then come back to the video and we will continue on. And then we're going to close out the video. Okay, so let's take a look here. Remember, you can use the SHA-256 sum to get that um, hash for whatever file, which is going to be this libgcrypt file. And as you can see, that's what I did here. And this was my output result. Now, this next one here, you got to take a look at the hash cats examples page. So if we navigate over there, just go in and search for it. It's going to be 1750 here. HMAC SHA-512 key equals $pass. So there's that one. And task number 8, conclusion. This room covered hashing functions and their uses from various perspectives. Before moving on, we should distinguish between hashing, encoding, and encryption. Hashing, as already stated, is a process that takes input data and produces a hash value, a fixed size string of characters, also referred to as a digest. This hash value uniquely represents the data, and any change in data, no matter how small, should lead to a change in the hash value. Hashing should not be confused with encryption or encoding. Hashing is one way, and you can't reverse the process to get the original data. Encoding converts data from one form to another to make it compatible with a specific system, ASCII, UTF, etc., etc., are valid encoding methods for the English language. Note that UTF, UTF-16, UTF-32 are Unicode encodings, and they can represent characters from other languages such as Arabic and Japanese. Another type of encoding commonly used when sending or saving data is not for any specific language. Examples include base 32 and base 64 encoding. Consider the following example of using base 64 to encode, and that's what it looks like here. Usually it has this two equal signs at the end for base 64. Encoding should not be confused with encryption, as using a specific encoding does not protect the confidentiality of the message. Encoding is reversible. Anyone can change the data encoding with the right tools. Only encryption, which we covered in the previous rooms, protects the data confidentiality using a cryptographic cipher and key. Encryption is reversible, provided we know the cipher and can access the key. To continue with this module, join John the Ripper. However, if you would like to gain more in-depth information about cryptography, consider this room, which is the cryptography intro, that dives into more concepts and showcases more tools related to cryptography. Answer the questions below. Use base 64 to decode this here. Save as decode dash this.txt in this location here. What is the original word? I'm sure you have noted the various concepts and tools explored in this room. So go ahead and try to figure this out. Come back to the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, so I'm going to get this ready to go here. And it wants us to do a decode, so call this out. So you could do base 64, then dash D for decode. And we want to get that particular file here, so let's go ahead and do the decode this. And okay, it's not dash D. Oh, I can't spell. That's why it didn't work. So if we put an E in there, there you go. All right, now as usual with any of these commands and tools and such, so you can do like base 64 like this. I don't know if this pulls up to help or not. Maybe it doesn't. But anyway, so you can do like dash H. No, okay, that doesn't work. maybe dash dash help. Yeah. Okay. So you can see dash D for decode data, and you can see the rest here. All right. So that wraps up this room. Hopefully you found this of value, and if you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, share the video, comment below on your thoughts and opinions on information shared in this video. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch my video. I will see you later. Have a good day.